Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today we are discussing a 2010 model year limited edition of 250 pieces in steel. This is reference 5026-18, the IWC Big Pilot's Watch Perpetual Calendar Pilot's Classic Limited Edition. In stainless steel, it is a Big Pilot's Watch, 46.2 millimeters in diameter, 15.7 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. It is 56.1 millimeters across the wrist with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist of 16 centimeters circumference, and you can see that the watch is too big for me. The lugs are comically stretched out beyond the edge of my wrist. So if your wrist is my size or smaller, no go. If your wrist is larger, such as 17 centimeters circumference, you have a much better chance of wearing this watch well. It's not as thick as it could have been, all things considered. Sub 16 millimeters is impressive, but the watch is incredibly broad, and this down the barrel shot really illustrates better than anything else, along with the over-the-top, that the watch is just too much for me. That said, if you've got the wrist of sufficient size, batter up. The quality is outstanding. Here we have a color-coordinated IWC factory strap with the simulated rivet assembly. You can see that the rivets feature satination and even beveling. The strap is shear cut to show you the layers of leather, which are substantial and enormous. There's a contrasting stitch. This is black, medium rectangular scale alligator leather, and you can see on the bottom, black calfskin, no crimping, no gouging. This is an IWC factory strap that is model specific. Rolling around to the other side, we have a single fold deployant clasp, IWC branded. Inside, there's polish and media blasting. Externally, this friction fit snap shut clasp has both satination and polish. The case has both too. You can see 1 out of 250. We have integrated lug profiles, very similar to the 1940s Luftwaffe BR, the observation watch created by a number of companies, among others IWC, a supplier of the original, which was 55 millimeters. Well, back in 2002, IWC launched the reborn Big Pilot's watch, now 46.2 millimeters. It's still big, but it's no longer absolutely gargantuan. This is a watch that can and has been worn daily by folks with big wrists. The addition of a perpetual calendar emphasizes that today's Big Pilot's watch is as much about luxury as historical homage. Now you can see we have the large diamond-style knurled crown. This is a screw down. By the way, the crown is over 10 millimeters in diameter. Everything about this watch is huge. Between the screw down crown and the screwed-in case back, the watch is 60 meters water resistant, so on a different strap, surface swimmable. You don't want to take this diving. The dial is matte black and instrument style. The idea is to recall the look of analog aircraft flight decks from 20th century aircraft, and so you have that. Let's take a little tour. You can see aside from the bright orange calibrations, this is a great watch for Halloween, by the way, we have a sort of cruciform symmetry, so you can split the watch two different ways, and the dial will be essentially a mirror. You can also see we have moon phase for both the northern and southern hemisphere, a perpetual calendar with a day, a date, and a month. We have a power reserve indicator over at 3 o'clock. The power reserve indicator is inboard of the date. It is a 7-day power reserve indicator. We have running seconds over at 9 o'clock, and then we have the year, decade, century, and millennium. And the watch even comes with a little slide featuring additional centuries. So this watch is future-proofed. Your IWC watchmaker can always add what's called the century slide when we get to, for example, the year 2300. Now, this is a Kurt Klaus IWC mechanically programmed system for setting the calendar. So let me demonstrate 2 setting modes. One, you pull the crown out all the way, note the seconds hand stops, that's hacking seconds. Now, this system, which was introduced in 1985, Kurt Klaus designed this for IWC. You have the ability to jump and quickly set the date with everything else mechanically programmed and moving in sequence. So date, month, moon phase, year, and decade, all of that will move in appropriate sequence, programmed mechanically. So all you need to do is set the correct date and everything else will line up. Even the moon phase will set itself correctly. You do not have to go online and figure out the current phase or age of the moon. Let's do a Lume Shot, because the watch does have a fair amount of luminescence. As you can see, this orange variant of Superluminova loomed at the four corners and the broadsword hands as well. Turn it all over. We have IWC manufacturer caliber 51614. It is an enormous movement, over 38 millimeters in diameter. It is one of the world's largest automatics. It uses the Paul-based IWC Albert Peloton winding system that was implemented in the early 1950s. It helped to inspire many Paul-based systems, including, among others, Magic Lever. Now, it's an automatic winder with single barrel. It's got a 7-day power reserve. You can see Pilot's Classic Limited Edition 2010 on the rotor. This particular example was sold in late 2011. What appears to be a solid gold medallion is in fact a solid gold medallion with polish and media blast. We have circular Cote de Genève engine turning on the base plate, and the screw heads are polished. We've got a balance beating away at 6 beats per second. It's adjusted in 5 positions, which is chronometer standard, and it features a free sprung architecture for precise adjustment and shock resistance, then a hand-formed Breguet overcoil, so in any position this watch keeps very consistent time. That's one of its real virtues. All of this pivoting on 62 joules. It is an amazingly complicated assembly, and you can see some of the pleasing elements, including solarization on the ratchet wheel, satination on the train wheels. It's a very good-looking movement that properly fills this gigantic case back and drives a legendary Perpetual calendar system. This watch even has an unusual feature that you'll probably never need, but here goes. If you're in an airline or aircraft cabin that explosively decompresses, the watch has been secured so it will not eject its crystals or its seals. So your watch will be fine. I'm not so sure about you. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.